The fellow that lives in this house on the shores of Lake Champlain in Essex, New York, just south of Plattsburgh, New York, is a guy that's been drawing comic books for much of his life. His name is Sid Couchey, and he's the guy who drew that poor little rich boy we all felt real sorry for, a fella named Richie Rich. Sid's home, he's invited us in, so come on. And this is your studio that we're in now?
This is the studio.
And this is the studio where, for how many years did you draw Richie Rich?
Well, I was over Richie Rich and Little Lotta and Little Dot all together, maybe 12 years or more.
Now tell me the story, Sid, about Richie Rich. Now, you drew Richie Rich.
That's right. These are Harvey Comics. Most all of their characters were arrived at in editorial conference.
What they would look like and their personalities and things.
The editors, the writers, artists, and publisher. And then, but soon, fairly early on in the game, I started drawing Little Lotta. And all their characters are, no, that's Little Dot.
I'm sorry, Little Dot.
The L-O-T-T-A, that's...
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. And all their characters are anchored with some premise. Little Dots being that she loves polka dots and wouldn't go out of the house without a polka dot dress.
Lotta is
Little Lotta
self-explanatory.
is a good eater and strong, but
and Richie Rich, the poor little rich boy.
Yeah.
And you sat here.
The world's richest poor boy.
The world's richest poor. And you would sit here and draw?
That's right.
How would you get the stories to draw?
Well,
you
got a skeleton script, and
how would you get
I
that?
would visualize it from. They would send me a batch
in the mail.
That's right. These characters are it's animation, and in the broader sense, not the technical sense. The broader sense of animation is just to give life to, and these are the characters that. Can fall off a 90-story building and get up and brush themselves off and go on about their business. And
I noticed that you're doing this with an indelible pen, no erasing here, and you didn't sketch them first.
That's right. After so many years, but I assure you that in the early going. I had used pencil. Now, this is just the, you get familiar with the characters, and this is something that I always tell kids that are interested in cartooning, and not to worry about getting into the funny business right at the beginning of their drawing experience, to try to soak up any kind of art they can. The reason being that the character is only one part of it, and in order to make something funny, you have to know what is underlying and what's real before you distort and exaggerate. And exaggeration and animation has to do with expressions too. Here's the guy that's analogous with the one standing there with no interest. Here's an expression of no interest. He isn't glad, mad, sad, or anything. And but the minute that the eyebrows begin to pull down and the mouth begins to pull down, you get the idea that all's not too well. But then of course you carry it on until there's very little whites of the eyes and the mouth is pulled down until the teeth show, and then comes the perspiration and all. And so animation, if you had a mad expression, it would be that rather than that.
Where did you learn to do all this?
Well, you get a certain amount. You probably get 50% of what you need in art school in terms of technique and stuff. But it's just experience. And I had an editor that with Harvey's that was absolutely
Harvey's Comics.
Yeah, he'd been there for 100 years. Oh, he was good.
You were a freelancer.
Freelance, always.
You didn't work for anybody in an employee-employer term.
No, just a handshake.
You did every Richie Rich comic book on a handshake.
That's right. And on top of that, it went down the drain once, and
the comic did.
Yeah,
as
a matter of fact, twice. It's changed hands several times, but it did stop altogether for a while. and Little Lot and Little Dot are virtually over it altogether. But Richie Rich, and I came back under new management, and about 10 years ago, I went to the drugstore and picked up a Richie Rich under the new management. On the cover said, all new art and stories inside. And I looked in there, and there's stuff I had done 20 years ago. And a couple of them had my own name. I had Couchey's Hardware or something.
In those days, artists rarely got their names printed in the credits of the comic books they worked on. So Sid liked to personalize his stories by including local landmarks and friends. Once, he drew in his wife Ruth and himself as part of a plot for a Little Lotta story.
No stones along the shore, but here's something.
Pumpkin.
This pumpkin must weigh more than a silver dollar. Here goes. Meanwhile, across the river, and this is a picture, and I had hair then, and Ruth had black hair then. We're sitting on a park bench. She says, "Sid, do you really love me? I don't believe you do. May the sky fall down on my head if I don't, Ruthie." Wappo.
The pumpkin that she threw.
So she said, "I thought so. Now I know you're fibbing." But apparently we made up because...
Wonderful. Isn't that great?
And about that time, just if I may, here's my sweetheart, and
this is your wife here. She's off working today, right?
yeah, that's right. And this is just to prove that she had coal black hair, and
exactly as you drew her.
no less. And
there she is. Here she is in the comic, right?
yeah,
And here she is in real life. Sid is retired from drawing Richie Rich, but he has not retired from drawing altogether. Today, he enjoys pursuing even more fanciful themes, which he creates for the pure pleasure of doing so. Sid and Ruth's home is filled with the fruits of his vivid imagination. But Sid's no stay-at-home. He and Ruth like to travel to comic book conventions where he and his work are still very much in demand. Along the way, Sid has managed to collect quite an impressive collection of the works of other famous cartoonists from both the old and the new schools. But if he had his way, Sid would keep today's comics simple and clean, with stories everyone could enjoy, just like the old days.
I drew Richie Rich and Little Lot and Little Dot for a long time. They're all cute, clean, good, and good fun. And I've been talking with cartoonists lately, and I think they're on their way out. Not just Richie Rich and that type, but that whole genre of the cute cartoons and the whimsical and so forth. That's just an old timer talking. So anyway, I got it out of my system with this painting.